So what I have here on the bench today is something that is a fairly new gun. It's 2 years old, maybe a little bit more, and it's not behaving itself very well. I'm going to have to take it apart and find out what's going on. Welcome back to Canic Air. What we have here is an Air Arms TX200 Hunter carbine. Carbine meaning it's got a shorter barrel, which it actually doesn't. The barrel is, this is a shroud and the barrel stops short about this far. The regular TX200 has a slightly longer barrel, and the main difference is it has a slightly longer cocking lever. So this gun will be a little bit harder to cock, but otherwise the mechanism is the same as the TX200. Made in England, this is considered to be sort of air gun royalty. Very finely made gun, beautifully polished. About one of the nicest spring piston air rifles you can get. This one's in .22 caliber. It's fitted up with a decent scope. It's a lovely gun. So why is it here? Well, it's misbehaving. Last time I heard this being fired, a friend of mine owns this thing, and horrible buzzing coming from the piston cylinder. So hopefully nothing too amiss. I say the gun's pretty new, so it seems a little bit early for the lubricants to be dried out, but maybe that is the case. There's always a possibility too that their spring is broken, so that's why put a halt to the shooting, and they're going to pull it apart. These are well known for being easy to take apart, so hopefully that proves to be the case. Get inside it, find out what's going on in there. I may actually take a test shot just to see, just so we can record for the camera what it sounds like before we take it apart. Let's give that a shot. Okay, so I have the gun loaded with a pellet. I'm going to aim it at the backstop here and see how well the camera might pick up the noise of the gun firing. Let's see what happens. Hopefully you heard that resounding buzz that came after the shot. That is not how this gun was behaving when it was new. It had that reassuring, thud, thunk as it was finished up its shot. So, and these are known for being really, smooth shooting guns. So somehow it has lost its way. So I'm going to take it apart and find out what's going on inside. First thing I'm going to have to do is remove the scope, get that out of the way, and then you take the stock off, and then you pop apart the mechanism. So how hard can it be? The next step here is to remove this bolt, and that will give us access to the trigger. And there it is. The trigger mechanism just slides right out. Nicely made module. Now we should have no problem getting out the spring guide. And the piston should come out without any trouble. Okay, so the good news is all the parts look very much intact. There's nothing that should be vibrating except obviously this. This is more of an oily grease than anything more substantial. So I think by packing this spring with some red and tacky grease, it should be good. We'll clean all this other stuff off first. But yeah, there's nothing that should be buzzing or vibrating in here, you know, because it's broken. So everything's intact, spring's fine. So we'll just we'll give it a thorough cleaning, lubricate it, and put it all back together again, and hopefully that horrific buzz will be gone. Now I've cleaned this spring as thoroughly as I can, inside and out. I was using this black cloth, an old t-shirt, and if you can see this, these little silver spots here are little tiny flecks of metal. Little metal shavings that have come off the inside of the spring, so not exactly sure what that's all about, but anyway, we'll keep an eye on that. It might just be a break-in period of the gun, but better out than in, I'd say. So the next thing we have to do is put all the pieces back together again. The piston has to go back into the piston housing here, which is this reciprocating sleeve, which we can't see all of it. I didn't need to take that out. It seems to be perfectly all right. Before I put it in, I'm going to put a bit of, since I've cleaned everything off, I'm going to put some moly grease on these lovely little piston rings here, which is something you don't see on a lot of air rifles. But on something made like this, yeah, you see a larger diameter here and smaller there. So this is the part that goes into the reciprocating, what the heck they call that? Compression chamber, right? And this part stays outside in the larger bore, so yeah. So just a little bit of lubricant on there, not too much. And just a little bit of silicone oil we're going to rub into this seal here. We use silicone oil because it generally doesn't detonate under high pressure. Regular petroleum oils will explode and cause dieseling, which some guys think is a great thing because it boosts your velocity, but unfortunately it also creates vibrations that can damage your springs and other parts of your gun. So I'm also going to put a bit of red and tacky grease down the side here. This is the sticky stuff, which will hopefully help dampen all those vibrations that we're having issues with. And since this is the part that the trigger mechanism latches onto, I'm going to just put a little bit of moly grease on there too. Again, not too much. And hopefully I can slide this down inside. And our seal has to go inside that chamber there. Yeah, no problem at all. Love how these parts go together on these lovely made guns like this. This part has to go next. I guess this is what you call a top hat. Okay, and this goes on the end of the spring, and this is the crucial bit, getting a liberal coating of this grease onto the spring. I could use my fingers. I'm going to use this brush because I can get inside a little bit better. And this grease, when it goes on, you can see how stringy it is. It's that tackiness that reduces the vibration compared to other greases, which are definitely a lot thinner. And I would guess that the whatever grease or lubricant was applied at the factory was maybe not up to the rigors of the Canadian environment. I don't know, but it definitely should have been buzzing like that after only a couple of years of not so heavy use. The fellow has some other nice air guns that he shoots, so this TX200 doesn't get maybe as much use as it might have if somebody was a field target competitor or something like that and used this gun continuously. But I am hoping that once this is all nicely lubricated and put back together again, the gun will not buzz. The usual trick is to put grease onto the front half of the piston, slide it on in, and then when you get it in there like that, then you can finish up. There are various tuning compounds for spring piston guns, usually supplied by tuning companies, along with all its goodies like upgraded springs and guides and things like that. They are a variation on this type of high-tack grease, which is frequently sold in farm equipment supply places as a tractor grease. So, okay, so this has to go on next. This is the rear spring guide, and it stops the spring from kinking and bending as it is compressed. Keeps everything nice and straight. Okay. I'm going to put some moly grease down inside this. This is where the piston, the stud on the piston comes through and latches to the trigger mechanism. So I'm just going to coat the inside of that just a little bit. Keep things running smoothly. Don't want to see any more of those little tiny metal flakes. And the neat thing about these TX200s is they're supposed to just drop back together again without any real issues. So don't need a spring compressor, just a few pounds of pressure. Keep everything aligned. Put that down like that. Just sits here like that. And it goes. So all I have to do now is move this threaded hole up to here and insert this through. How hard can that be? Not that hard at all. Okay. And then we're going to tighten it down with our crescent wrench here. There we go. All back together. Let's put it back in the stock. I guess it doesn't matter if that piece is on a bit of an angle. I thought it was maybe more straight than that when I took it out. Yeah, just tighten it down a little more. Okay, that makes it feel a little better. Okay. Yeah, it just goes right back in the stock now. So let's get these lubes out of the way before I knock anything over. tighten those down too hard until I am certain everything's lined up. Okay, this, all right, didn't think it was catching, but it was, okay. Good torque on those so they don't come loose. So one of the things with a spring piston rifle is that before going out and shooting it, pretty much seriously any time, is to get out your screwdrivers and Allen keys and make sure everything is tight, because things do shake loose on the darn things, no matter how much Loctite they put on there. And if your rifle is vibrating inside its stock, you will lose accuracy. If your brake barrel is slightly loose, you will lose accuracy. If your scope is slightly loose, you will lose accuracy. So everything has to be tightened back down. So, okay. Gun's back together again. Let's grab some pellets and see how it shoots into the trap. Check it for noise. Okay, I've got it cocked and loaded. Safety off. Let's see how it sounds. No buzz. Excellent. Yep, that's all it took. Just replacing the lubricant with something a little more suited, and that's got it working again. Now, however, I'm going to get the chronograph out and see how well it performs velocity-wise. We don't want to put too much sticky stuff in there that the gun actually slows down significantly. But we can give up a few feet per second if it runs smoother. So yeah, we'll see how that works. So my challenge here is with the camera running to get everything cocked and loaded with not making too much of a mess of things. This is a difficult rifle to cock anyway. End up having to use two hands on the cocking lever. Pellet goes into the barrel directly. Push that in to close the compression chamber. The safety goes on automatically, so disconnect that and see how we do. 722. Yeah, that's pretty much in line with what it was doing in some months before. A little bit of smoke there. If you don't get that last click on the cocking, you can't close it. .722 again. How's that for consistency? Okay. .723. Gosh, gained a whole feet per second there. I'm only going to do 5 shots. I don't think we're going to learn too much more if I go any further than that. .725. Nope, one more click missing. There we go. Safety. 711, that one's a bit low. Okay, but certainly no loss of performance with the replacement of the lubricant. tacky stuff is doing its job. It sounds a lot more reassuring that it's not damaging itself. So those little flakes of metal that we found on the cleaning cloth either could just be from normal break-in of the rifle, or it could be a symptom of the vibration issues. But anyway, looks like the problem is solved. Next step is to put the scope back on it and take it to the range and just make it still shooting straight. So, all right, we'll do that. I shot my first group with the Air Arms Diablo Field, a nice domed pellet. Thought they were appropriate for the rifle, but introduced a few too many variables here. Trying a different rifle rest, wasn't exactly comfortable with it. It was also blisteringly hot inside the range. Cooler weather didn't come for another day or so. I didn't shoot a terribly great group with that. I was just, I found the trigger was going off a little before I wanted it to. So my next group, I tried the Air Arms Diablo Hunter, which is a slightly pointed pellet. And the first one went straight through the middle, but the second one down and to the left, and that's exactly where the crosshairs were lined up when the trigger went off. So yeah, it definitely seems to be shooting where it's pointed. That's for sure. It just I was having a hard time just controlling things and getting the group right where I wanted it. So 5 shots. It's not as big a group as it looks there, but it's, yeah, I'm sure I could do better. I switched over to the heavier JTS 18 plus grain pellets, and yeah, I was fairly encouraged with the first few shots here. I'll kind of make in one nice ragged hole. I felt I was maybe getting a little control of that trigger, just understanding it a little better, but if it was my gun, I would dial up a pound extra in the trigger. But yeah, these pellets seem to have some promise in this gun. And then the last one, of course, has to go just a bit low. I was kind of annoyed about that. So what final thoughts do we have for this lovely TX200 Hunter carbine? Recognized as being one of the finest spring piston air rifles in the world today, and there's a few challengers to that title, but this is certainly on the list. Well, we've certainly proven that lubricants can go bad and can be easily replaced. That's a great thing. We've proven that velocities are pretty consistent after such an overhaul, so that's great. And accuracy is pretty decent on this gun. I don't think I gave it my best at the range. It was pretty hot and sticky in there, and it was difficult. And most of all, the trigger is adjusted far too light for my preference. I just found it was going off before I was creeping up on that second stage, and it was gone before I knew it a few times. So I think my accuracy suffered there. If it was my gun, I would definitely dial in a little more trigger pressure. So would I like to own something like this at some point someday? I'd have to say no. I like it. I like it a lot. I think it's a wonderful gun, beautifully made, but I don't think it's for me. It's really heavy. The cocking effort is, quite frankly, brutal. If I was going to shoot one of these again, I would definitely want to try the one with the longer barrel and cocking arm for sure. But it is a Hunter carbine, and the name says everything. It's a shorter package to make it handier in the field and in the woods. You're not going to be cocking it and shooting as much if you're dealing with hunting or pest control, that kind of thing. But for me, for target shooting, firing off a lot of shots in a short period of time, it's just too hard to work this. So yeah, if I was going to pick something to shoot 22 pellets downrange all afternoon, I would pick something more like my Benjamin Classic. This is a little bit too much work for my taste. So sorry to kind of say that, but I do admire its build quality and precision and all that stuff. So what an awesome air rifle, and hope you enjoy this. Anyway, thanks for watching. Mechanic here. We'll be back with some more fun stuff. Consider subscribing.